Easter eggs are hidden unlocks, sprites, places, or items that you have to go out of your way to find. This list is compiled out of 100 of these. There are a few rules before we start, though. No more than one egg from each game, and the game cannot be indie. That's why you won't be seeing the Stanley Parable Easter egg here. Also, I'm going to be naming some you may call cheat codes, but not too many. That's it for rules, so sit back and enjoy the top 100 Easter eggs of all time. Warning, this list contains spoilers. A very well-known Easter egg, on the mission Dead Man Walking, if you go on the path less taken, you can find two cell agents dancing in an elevator with strobe lights and artificial smoke. After a while it will close and leave, but still a very funny and short Easter egg. This Easter egg, along with the game's multiplayer, was, in my opinion, the only good thing about the game. You can find a chest burster in a containment capsule, outfitted with a straw hat and cane. Supposedly a reference to Spaceballs. In the original Half-Life, if you load up the map C1A1C, then go into NoClip, far below the level, there will be a black box visible. Robbie the Rabbit was kind of like the icon of Silent Hill 3 and 4. However, he was more prominent in the fourth game. When you see him in Eileen's room through the hole in the wall, you know some shit's going down. But oddly, it doesn't. He just stares into a corner. But after Eileen leaves, you normally exit. But if you come back, you get a nice little surprise.
Oh, sfinte zburator! Wow! Wow, omule! Oh!
One of the first star Easter eggs, as we'll get to the original Easter egg in a moment, you have to follow a certain set of prerequisites while playing the Atari 400 or 800 port of Donkey Kong. Then, you get Mario killed, and, after that, the title screen will have LMD on it, under the Nintendo logo. This was one of the developers' initials, and apparently they just didn't bother taking them out on that port. Unfortunately, GTA 4 didn't have as many Easter eggs as San Andreas. However, this one is pretty cool, and slightly disturbing. If you fly up to the middle of the Statue of Happiness, there will be a door. Prepare for lots of stairs. Look for the door between two signs that says no hidden content this way. And the rest, it's pretty, interesting, to say the least. The original Dead Space centered around a man trying to find his wife on a space station who is dead all along. You can find this out earlier than normal by reading the first letter of every chapter. But then, I guess, if you made it to the last chapter, you would know by then. Whatever. In the original Chrono Trigger, if you beat the game in New Game Plus, you can fight Lavos with double health. After you beat him, you will find death sprites at the end of time, and they will tell you to get a life. Assholes. If you played the original Resident Evil, you may remember that the voice acting wasn't so good, and there's a part where Jill nearly gets crushed by spike walls, only to have Barry save you, and instead of saying something normal, like, "Are you okay?" or "How come this is the only game I'm directly in?" he proclaims that she would have become a Jill sandwich had he not saved her. And, beside the Colby Theater in Dead Rising, you will find a shop named after the now legendary line.
There's this little cutscene right before That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
We all knew this game had lots of inspiration. This cameo is a little bit more obvious. In the jungle, you can actually find Jason Voorhees, and he's harder to kill than the final boss. The devs deny that he's Jason Voorhees, but come on now.
We got some.
In a game that's seemingly trying to beg you to take it seriously, this was a very out-of-place Easter egg. In the Kate chapter, if you shoot the orange sign directly in the middle, a giant car-sized rat will run down the street. Nothing prompts this, acknowledges it, and there's no follow-up to it. If you explore caustic caverns enough, you might find some coal from Minecraft. Upon further investigation, you will find a small cave filled with gold, and to the brim with creepers. You can also get a Steve head. Pretty cool, but I think we all would have preferred a creeper with a suit and a head. I can dream though, right? Alan Wake's collectibles were amazing. They all have profound purpose, whether it's recordings revealing more about Alan or full TV episodes of a parody of Twilight Zone. There's always reason to collect them all. Except the coffee, I don't know what that was supposed to do. Anyway, in this case it's Sam Lake, the developer of the game and face model of Max Payne. He's being interviewed and is asked to make the face. If you don't laugh at that, I don't know if you're human.
Well, your latest novel is called The Sudden Stop, and it's in bookstores now. Go get it. That means the two of you out there who haven't bought it yet. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for you tonight. I want to thank all our guests for the evening. Alan Wake, Sam Lake. Once more, do the face for us, Sam. There it is. And our musical guests, Poets of the Fall.
Deus Ex Human Revolution takes place in 2053. While combat has changed, it seems the video game market hasn't changed at all. You can find a poster of the 27th direct installment of Final Fantasy. Even Square Enix in their own game knows that's their ace in the hole. Another famous Easter egg that requires no clip. On the first boss level, if you clip through the boss's head, you'll find that the lead programmer's head on a pike. More funny, and that a lot of people don't know, is that the head is actually the boss's hitbox. Beating Halo 1 on Legendary was a pain in the ass.
This is it, baby.
It's no secret, Earthworm Jim was heavily outsold by Donkey Kong Country, arguably one of the best SNES games of all time. Seeing as this was just about what killed Jim, the developers put a secret head in the special edition. A gorilla with an arrow through its head. You can find the skeletal remains of Raz from Psychonauts. I guess they're trying to say, no, we're not making a sequel, we're afraid of making money. You might wonder why the cowboy hat Easter egg isn't here. It's because I absolutely love this. All they did was splice together lines, and it works perfectly. In Locust's underground fortress, you can find a purple hunk of rock with a Locust insignia on it, which Marcus calls a toaster. The rest, I will let you watch.
Who wants toast? I like them crispy. I like them crispy on the outside. Hell yeah!
One of the many Easter eggs in Gears, the Slab DLC map Easter egg takes a turn for the creepy. Upon doing a few prerequisites, a ball will appear, and if you shoot it in a hole, a few rats will get loose. And then you'll get a butcher laugh, which is creepy on its own. In the game that killed and simultaneously made Team Bondi famous, on the Silk Stocking murder, you can find John Marston's hat in a trash can. A bit of ironic symbolism. Now that they all need is a copy of L.A. Noire in the trash and Red Dead 2 to return the favor. Another well-known Easter egg. Well, it damn well better be. It's a billion-dollar game. You can find a ghost. Yeah, on Mount Chiliad, in the dead of night, you can indeed find a ghost on top of the mountain. Now, why couldn't this be in multiplayer mode? Another Easter egg most find funny, but I think is very creepy. On Halo 3, on the mission Sierra 117, you can find a family of monkeys. More than often, this was trivia your friends would give you to see if you were a real Halo 3 fan. Back when Duke Nukem was good, he actually made satires exactly like he does now about his competitors. That's why it was no surprise when you could find the Doom Space Marine ripped in half in Duke Nukem 3D. I always considered this one of Doom Marine's many deaths in which he just respawned because he was in hell. I bet Duke regrets this satire, as now he's more like the bully you had in high school turned hobo, knocking on your door asking for money.
That's one Doom Space Marine. Cool.
In Resident Evil 3, you can find a neon sign that reads Biohazard 4. Ironically, that's the game that would ruin the series. Don't get me wrong, it's easily on the top 3 list for GameCube games, coming in at a close second next to Pikmin 2 and Super Smash Bros. Melee, but the game started slowly deteriorating in quality after the legendary Resident Evil 4, turning more into a shooter than survival horror, and eventually just bad games. Arguably one of the best Mortal Kombat Easter eggs, if you fought flawlessly on both rounds on the bridge, you would teleport into a pit and fight the legendary Reptile, who, funnily enough, was just a reskin of Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Only later was he actually turned into a reptile, but at the time I'm sure it was awesome for an actual fight to happen that you really didn't expect.
Get over here! Come here! Finish him! Flawless victory.
In Library, if you do some very particular things and eventually shoot a portrait, you'll get teleported to a room with an Epic Reaper, a character only playable by developers. But oddly enough, he's named on the roster after a fellow COG Gear in-game.
Incoming fire!
These things are just disgusting. In the second game, in a graveyard, you could find enemies wearing the clothes of Serious Sam, but sporting the face of a dev with a giant, very, very, very creepy alien head and an awkward walk to accompany it. This was brought back in the HD sequel. I hate them. I hate them so much. The only memorable Easter egg from the Sega CD or mini Sonic game in general, Fun is Infinite, is either the result of entering a sound test code or by hitting an anti-piracy barrier in pirated copies of Sonic CD. This game had several other Easter eggs very out of place as well, including a picture of Sonic turned Batman. A well-known Easter egg, a newspaper in Uncharted 3 hints that Uncharted and The Last of Us take place in the same universe. Rumored, Naughty Dog put this in, assuming The Last of Us would be announced before Uncharted released. It wasn't, and this remained. On Mission 6, you can find two Marines standing around. Eventually, they'll be given the voices of Conan O'Brien and Andy Richter. I like this Easter egg.
Looks at the crates. That's a violation.
Oh, yeah. Don't you think rugs would warm this up a little bit?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just like, literally, I'm not talking wall to wall, but like 5 area rugs.
Mm-hmm.
Or some oriental rugs. And you know what? Suddenly it's a whole different vibe in here.
Right.
I think something's up.
What?
I think there's gonna be a war with an alien they awoke from an ancient slumber.
Oh, that is stupid.
I know.
I mean, I don't know much. I mostly just load crates, but that is stupid.
You know what? There's one thing my grandpa told me. Never awaken an alien from an ancient slumber.
Treyarch loves Easter eggs. While Black Ops 1 had the song when you shoot off all the mannequin heads, which is extremely tedious, in Black Ops 2, if you manage to do this, you can play some Atari. There's not much to say about this one. In Imperial Kashyyyk, you can find Jar Jar, the alien who single-handedly ruined over half of the Phantom Menace, frozen in carbonite, hopefully being shot out of the airlock with no return soon after. Back when Zelda was still an overhead game, Nintendo Power was still in its prime, and Link had purple hair, they had a contest that took no skill at all, just luck. The winner was Chris, the lucky bastard. He got a room dedicated to him in 1991's Link to the Past. You can actually find it and collect several dozen rubies. Mario cannot seem to keep him out of other people's games, and unfortunately, even Ocarina of Time suffered this curse. Fortunately, it's kind of hard to find. Not only is there a chicken farmer who has a distinct, wow, you really expect me not to call him Mario look to him, but at the beginning of the game, in the courtyard of the not yet destroyed castle, you can see a Mario painting, as well as a few others. Diablo games, after the original, always come with the guarantee of secret levels. At first, it was born out of a rumor that had you click on a cow for hours. Of course, that was in the original game, but in the second one, this legend was actually made true, and in the third title, a similar unicorn level was made. Not as cool as cows, though.
Moo, moo, moo. Moo, moo.
In a reboot to a movie franchise that wasn't really good in the first place, you can find a Guitar Hero guitar in a pawn shop window, signifying the death of Guitar Hero. Because the Spider-Man games are just legendary. This Beautiful Joe Easter egg reminds you that the game originally came out for GameCube, but had a Resident Evil 4 syndrome and just went ahead and came out for every console. If you sit around long enough, Joe will whistle the theme to Super Mario. Nothing much else. In Bayonetta, there's a shop owner that, upon asking to browse his wares, he'll ask,
"What are you buying?"
In case you didn't know, that's a reference to Resident Evil 4. Saints Row 2 has a slew of sequels, the most famous being the following. If you go out in the middle of nowhere, among one of the hidden islands that are pretty cool as well, there's a big purple bunny out in the middle of nowhere. Another one of those, "Hey dude, have you seen this" Easter egg that you've probably seen a million times at this point. In Far Cry, you can find an abandoned lab that belongs none other than to the time-traveling Abstergo company, hinting at now-released sequel to Assassin's Creed, and a possibility of Assassin's Creed and Far Cry belonging in the same universe. Runner 2 is an on-rails game where you run on a creepy-looking level like Forest, where you can see a man in a suit who also lacks a face. If you fail the mission, you get a static screen, a la Slender for the PC. I'm guessing they didn't have to ask for the rights to Slender because it was an indie game at that time and not yet licensed. In this Easter egg, a jukebox can be activated to hear the classic song at the end of Portal, their second to magnum opus. Another highly known Easter egg, in Assassin's Creed, if you pull a lever in a tomb beneath Santa Maria, after doing it a few times, a large squid will surface. Then, after a few more times, he will swing at Ezio. Once again, Mario just can't keep his face out of these games. A smaller classic Easter egg, you can find it right near the beginning of the game. After meeting the child-molestingly creepy mask salesman, you can find that on his back, you can see a Mario mask on his back, along with a plethora of other references. Or maybe it's that guy from Lon Lon Ranch? The idea of landing in a 3-foot deep hay bale has always been pretty unrealistic. That's why in Witcher 2, you can find a more realistic outcome of Altair's first dive. Ow. In this game, you can type "beam me" outside the prison cell, and you'll be teleported to a room with several developers. Credited as the first Easter egg ever, this 1979 Easter egg is simply several lines of text. The text reads the name of the staff. Okay, this is technically an ending. However, you have to go through a lot of stuff that people wouldn't normally want to do. And in my opinion, it is considered an Easter egg, because you gotta beat the game and get all 3 endings. And then, you can find a dog key that goes to a house at Jackson in your new playthrough. If you use the key inside any Nightmare Lakeview hotel, you'll find a dog running the whole show. This one isn't much, but it's enough to make you chuckle if you were just exploring the SATCOM arrays. At one of the abandoned SATCOM arrays, there's a door you can open, and it greets you with this message. When Snake is put into a cell, you must save the game before he escapes. If you do, you'll be rewarded with a hack and slash minigame that Snake calls a dream and blames Paramedic for it. Perhaps a foreshadowing of Metal Gear Solid Revengeance? The zombies in Half-Life 2's screams crack me up. They remind me of Nicolas Cage screaming about the bees, but did you know, if you reverse the audio, they form words? And if you listen what they have to say, it really reminds you that there used to be a person under that head crab. Another weird Easter egg. It's expected. Rare loves some Easter eggs. Even in their shittier games like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, they've got some good ones. However, in this classic game, there are 17 pieces of cheese. Less than 10 people have found them without a guide, but really, who cares? Seeing as this is one of the only sports games I've ever really liked, it's fitting that it has some really badass cheats within its plethora of unlockable characters. And some are kind of really out of place, like Weasel, Will Smith, and the President and First Lady of the United States? Yeah, really weird cameo. I wonder who got paid for them to be in this game. Yeah, we all know this one. If you go to room 106, you'll see a spooky ghost. Not much, but I guarantee if you stumbled across this in 2004, it probably wouldn't be as funny as it is now. For your own sake, you shouldn't think too hard about this one. There's a hidden arena in this game. In the arena, you'll fight several very out-of-place enemies, including one that's a robot wearing an afro shooting fish. When you kill him, he explodes fish. That's not even the Easter egg. The fights get more weird until you finally win. You get sent to an unknown time period, supposedly where there are monkeys and possibly the biggest pedophilic dinosaur you've ever seen. So it fast forward a year later, and you're the king of monkeys in a Contra game. There's a deserted island off the coast of the main area. If you're flying a plane, it will stall and you'll crash. Then you will be stuck on the Lost Island, complete with smoke monsters and, of course, help signs made with sticks. Another game that really is trying to get you to take it seriously, this is weird. You can buy a hidden gun after you beat the game, and it's a unicorn that farts. Huh. Well, I'm not going to expand on that too much. Back when the jetpack was around, yes, I'm talking to you, GTA 5, you could fly up to the highest point on a bridge and find a sign reassuring you that there are absolutely no Easter eggs up there. While there is so much Ratman paraphernalia in Portal, you could almost swear he's necessary to the plot. Ratman is another character you actually never see, but you can find concept art of. You can find all about him and find his homes he's made in the Portal test chambers. So, you remember that black hole level in Star Fox, the secret one? Well, this Easter egg is child's play compared to that. First, you have to beat Hard Asteroid Belt and destroy a greenish-gray asteroid that will release a giant space bird. Now, rather than shooting it, fly into the space bird. The scenery will now consist of floating pieces of paper and stoned planets with faces. At the peak of weirdness, your boss battle will be a flying slot machine. This is where it gets bullshitty. You have to get 777s to leave, and it's all based on luck. Oh yeah, remember me talking about 777s? Yeah, when you do get those, you'll get a message saying, "The end." And you don't even leave. You can shoot the letters, but nothing will happen. Oops. In this nice little cameo, as a Big Daddy in Bioshock 2, you get to find the original protagonist's plane wreckage, letting you know that, no, it did not dissolve like anything else that explodes on Unreal Engine. This is not the first time an Easter egg has been in Mass Effect. Actually, I kind of like the Space Hamster trilogy of cutscenes better, but anyway, if you go to Ontaram in the Newton system of the Kepler-Vega cluster in Mass Effect 3, boy is that a mouthful, you will find not only a land that looks kind of like the default Windows XP background, but also a neutral NPC called Shifty Looking Cow. Walk close to it, and you'll see your credit count go down. Eventually, we can deduce that Shifty Looking Cow is the bastard that stole your credit. No one will blame you for killing it. More of a really nerdy secret than an Easter egg, Uku, the very creepily porcelain-looking talking chicken, was named after the name of Link's Tunic HTML code, which was #00CC00. Max, from Sam and Max, actually makes a cameo in a Star Wars game. He's just hidden, there's no prerequisite to get him. You can attack him, but he will kick your ass. He can optionally help you out if you press the use key on him. A microscopic Easter egg, there's a calendar that has a smiley face on the release date of Manhunt. On the American level, Come Out Fighting, you can find a UFO. That's pretty much it. It doesn't do much. The End is a fan favorite boss and one of my favorite bosses ever. He doesn't even care. You can kill him prematurely before the boss fight even happens, or you can do the boss fight and kill him. But why I like him so much is because of this Easter egg. If you start the fight, save your game, then change the clock on the PS2 to a week later, the End will have died of old age.
Major, I found the End. He's dead.
What the hell happened?
Maybe it was from old age.
You mean he kicked the bucket in the middle of a battle?
Maybe.
Well, Snake, the victory is yours.
No, I don't think so.
What do you mean?
It was his dying wish to fight me, but I disappointed him.
In a game that was not yet filled with Easter eggs, this was a welcome surprise. In the streets, you can sometimes find boxes of cereal, and if you have a sniper rifle, you can probably read that the box says Gears Crunch. This later inspired a G4 skit for the promo to Gears of War 2 called Grains of War. Another Easter egg that's quite known, but not really an Easter egg, if you go to Makarov's estate on the mission where Ghost dies, hey, I warned you about spoilers, you can find a blow-up doll in his bathtub. If you go to 3 different places before this part in the campaign, you will actually see that Surrender Kratos is being spelled right in the sky. It kind of looks like the condensation from jet fuel.
Find the sword! Everyone ready?
An actual useful Easter egg, if you jump in some puddles, Satan will become very irritated, mumble some gibberish, and will repay you with 4 ray guns if you'll just stop jumping in his puddles. Another Easter egg that could potentially ruin the story to most people who found this out by accident at the end of the game, if you happen to move the analog stick around, you can see a timid buck trying to touch an immovable monkey. Why is he there? Can the monkey move? At the end of Portal, there are cores that you have to incinerate. Being that not doing so in time will get you lungs full of poison ass, you don't really listen to what they have to say. The most interesting, however, is one that rambles on about food ingredients. And if you listen long enough, you might catch on to the fact that he is saying the ingredients to make cake.
1 cup granulated sugar, an entry called How to Kill Someone with Your Bare Hands, 2 cups rhubarb, sliced, 2/3 cup granulated rhubarb, 1 tablespoon all-purpose rhubarb, 1 teaspoon grated orange rhubarb, 3 tablespoons rhubarb on fire, 1 large rhubarb, 1 cross borehole electromagnetic imaging rhubarb, 2 tablespoons rhubarb juice.
In Skate 3, surprisingly, a cool cameo actually happens. Isaac Clarke from the Dead Space series surprisingly makes an appearance in this game if you have the right cheat code. Unfortunately, this is something you can only find if you have the Wild Wasteland perk, which is kinda your fault. I mean, why would you not choose the perk that does nothing for your character but make him questionably insane? Anyway, if you go up to the top of a hill near the beginning of the game, you can find a skeleton wearing a fedora. He's also in a refrigerator. This is referencing the end of one of the Indiana Jones movies, where he survives an explosion by getting in a refrigerator. At the bottom of the agency cave, there's a very unkempt toilet, complete with duckies and fueled by ocean water for some reason. A pretty unlockable Easter egg to find. This one pays homage to the cyborg ninja guy from the Metal Gear series. All you have to do is beat all the training sessions, but for some reason, the hair and face don't change, making you look kind of weird, running around as a cyborg ninja with a ponytail. There are 4 secret rooms in Rage: Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein, and the Dev Room. Kind of ironic that id puts their bragging room in one of their lowest selling games. Trials Evolution has so many Easter eggs, you don't even want to call them Easter eggs anymore. More like not so well hidden events. What most might call a nod to the first game, Roller Coaster is an Easter egg where you do a trick on a level and bail, and a really weird thing occurs. But isn't that what they all are, really? I consider this an Easter egg because you must get every star on every level. A task seemingly impossible considering the enemies randomly range from that guy driving the wrong way to the guy 5% faster than you, whose car is as accurate as that guy's handwriting from the Surrender Kratos Easter egg. Anyway, after you do that, you get a car very cleverly named Ages. Sega trades in your hours of torture for a car that's essentially a cameo in their own game. In Hitman Absolution, you can find Kane and Lynch. However, my favorite scene is Kane's, in which he beats up a few meathead truckers. Lynch just yells about trolls for whatever reason.
What the fuck? What are you looking for, stranger? Trouble?
Argued as, just a model that the devs forgot to delete, the Master Chief statue is a hidden grayed out model of a Spartan wearing Mjolnir armor, outside of the level Lone Wolf. Some say that it's actually a female model because of the hands and the arm structure, but I just think it's a cool little Easter egg, accidental or not. Just like NBA Jam, Pro Skater 3 has a lot of hidden characters, and this is just my favorite one. Nothing really changes. From as simple as making a computer play a song to blowing up the earth, this game is filled to the brim with Easter eggs. Overflowing, kind of like Trials, except they're better hidden and with more depth. Even if you don't like the main Easter eggs, come on, you know you like those main character Matryoshka dolls with unique quotes and all.
Hey, what's up, Tak?
There is honor in this, because Takio says it is so!
In a rather subtle Easter egg, in a random NPC's house, you can find a wheel of cheese missing a rather large chunk, and a rather small one. Next to it, there are a few smaller pieces, resembling a mini Pac-Man eating some pellets. About as obscure as one of the many Borderlands 2 references, you can find a secret weapon called the Loud Locust, that apparently is a brother to the noisy cricket from Men in Black. That's about it. It's just an egg, made of chocolate, in a hidden building that says Happy Easter. You go through a boring process of destroying all the hidden Guybrush statues, you will now be able to play as Guybrush. A rather questionable Easter egg, you can jump into a pool, and after a moment, Drake will yell, Marco, and you'll get $5,000?
No.
Then his rather sour sidekick will eventually say Polo, and then you win another $5,000. Wow. Invisible Money God is pretty lenient these days.
Fish out of water!
You are so unprofessional.
In a fairly average racer, this was absolutely not expected, and was only found years after this game was out, and the GameCube was completely null and void. You can enter a rather obscure code in the settings menu that will change the rather pleasant voice actor that talks over the races into a huge dick.
As the red buoys on the right, forget it. Poor. Great. Ooh, a turbo! You're about great. The winds are like diamonds, kid. Very rare.
Upon beating the original Zelda game, Link will be holding a sword instead of standing there in the save game. In the second playthrough, dungeons will be much harder. If you finish first in all the forward tracks while playing on hard, you will be able to ride an incredibly fast horse that can clock around 200 miles per hour. An earlier horse can be unlocked by doing the same requirements on normal. When collecting 120 stars, Mario has the chance to visit Yoshi outside Peach's castle. He awards 100 extra lives and a brand new jump. This was enough to bring any kids to tears, a rumor in a game that was actually true. An incredibly rare Easter egg in the original Far Cry, if you park your buggy at an awkward angle and leave, you will hear it start up. If you rush back to it, you'll see a pig who takes off. Usually, in my case, he crashed in a tree and died, but sometimes he'll take off with it. Haha, take that, Jack, for parking on a slope. An unfortunately rare egg, and random as well. If you find a civilian named Wilhelm and shoot him, he'll do, you guessed it, the scream used in movies and games and like. Obviously because of the developers, LucasArts, who have worked on many Star Wars related games. Since Ashley, for some reason, can't climb down ladders, you've probably done this by accident, aiming up beside her and shooting enemies that were coming at her. Upon looking up her skirt, or even near it, she will say one of many nasally quotes.
Yeah.
If you go to Treacher's Landing, you can find a drab-looking boat, only uplifted with Christmas lights. You'll also get an achievement referencing the song by Lonely Island that came out several months before this game. The Konami code has been used in hundreds of Flash games and hundreds of regular games and dozens of legendary titles like the Contra series, the Castlevania series, the Silent Hill series, Borderlands 1 and 2, Half-Life, and hundreds of other games. It even has a huge wiki that I'll put in the description for you guys to check out. At the end of the original Castlevania, you might notice the credits look a little weird and resemble other people's names. Well, for some reason they decided it would be funny if they changed the names and made them rhyme with other actors' names or writers. I'm not sure why. Maybe they just didn't expect you to beat the game because it's ridiculously hard, but who knows. In Halo 2, on the map Zanzibar, you can find a terminal, and if you hold X on it, the screen will change to blue and tell you that the connection's been terminated. The funny thing is, there's also a famous blue screen on Halo 2, usually resulting in a failed host migration. Probably one of the most well-known Easter eggs of all time, in the original Mario for NES, in World 1-2, if you jump over the rafters, you'll find a warp zone that simply says "Welcome to Warp Zone" with 3 green pipes. One leading to World 2, one to World 3, and one to World 4. Easter eggs are and will continue to be in games, brightening up even the shittiest of games somewhat. Some haven't even been found, but have been confirmed to be in games from the developers. Did I miss any of your favorites? Let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed.